So here we start. Welcome everybody to this friendly gathering of the 8th BitShares anniversary. And today we are glad actually to have like many stars that were actually participating on this blockchain development, and were actually participating in the reason of today's success of this blockchain. I will give the mic to Bench. He has an introduction. He will introduce himself first, and then I will be carrying on. So the mic is with you, Bench.
Yeah, so hello, I'm Alexander Gerl. I joined the BitShares development team back in 2017, and I wanna welcome everyone who is attending this meeting today and addressing all questions you have or how we're gonna move forward with BitShares.
Perhaps I want you to start an introduction about what is BitShares, since you are the last one who actually had participated in a seminar just recently was held, and you are the one who carried out the presentation of BitShares. Please introduce BitShares as we had introduced it in our latest seminar. Perhaps Bench has a technical issue. Do you hear me, Aaron? Can you confirm this in the chat?
Yes, now I'm unmuted.
Okay. I can hear you.
Perfect. So I was introducing BitShares as an advanced technology to make financial transactions scalable and adding smart contracts on a level everyone can use it. So I was also talking about the core functions, the exchange, the automated market makings, market-backed assets, liquidity pools, and the prediction market. At the end of the presentation, I was talking about some core features of BitShares 7.0, which will become hopefully in a few weeks live. Or anyone knows anything more than me? Ama, you are muted. We can't hear you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Bench, for this like a huge participation. I consider we could really address BitShares to the Web3 summit in Germany, and we really got an impact and effect after this presentation. New people are coming and asking. I could also observe a lot of talks about BitShares after specifically this event. Let me first start from here. I want to introduce myself after Bench. Now, me and Bench were working on BitShares since 2017, and I believe it was a very beautiful like moments when I found BitShares, because I was looking for at that time I was looking for an engine that might allow me to create assets and at the same time make them more into financial instruments. And this feature was not there anywhere except BitShares. So that's how I opened my eyes on BitShares back in 2017. And I remember when I was chatting with my friend Nicholas, who's here listening to me, I was telling him that this blockchain is so different. I really haven't seen such a technology before. Especially because I was really participating in developments over XRP ledger. I found features that I have not found there, and at that time I was telling Nicholas that this is like a treasure for me, and I would like to dig deeply inside this to be able to understand what's going on. So IOBanker was participating in BitShares since 2017, and I started engaging with BitShares development investors starting from 2018. I remember also we were having a lot of conversations, me and Bench, regarding how the blockchain works, how it is hosted, who's hosting it, how the architecture of BitShares is set, who's sitting it, who's doing what. Because when anyone just go to the wallet and start navigating there, they will start seeing some strange things that they don't really usually see in any other blockchain, where there are committee and there are witnesses appearing there in wallet, and there is a voting system and so on. Now the deep details of how the blockchain works really depends on the ones who designed it. And when we speak about BitShares, I could see, if we want to start talking about the history of this innovation, it was an agile work, definitely. Many people had participated in this great innovation, and what I could see that the intention of the development was so much related to monetary system and stable coin creation, perhaps specifically, and the collateralized style of assets issuing, which also the monetary does, and that's the fairest aim of the earlier developers, according to my own observations, where they started that, and then the development started taking another turn, where there has to be an enhancement in managing this innovation, and there has to be also some authority behind it, where this authority will decide how the development would be carried on. And in later stage, the development actually started touching the points of continuity of this great innovation and the development of it. So let me tell you how I see BitShares from my own perspective now. The best way of describing BitShares is just to bring about an alternative in our real life. So we never actually invent a wheel. Our implementations are just our thoughts, and definitely when we build every system has to be useful to its user. So system with no users is just meaningless. So every system will have a user who wants actually to define how this system works in order to serve their needs. And it is the case with everything we innovate or everything we participate in order to actually enhance perhaps our life or perhaps meet our expectations from our surround. So BitShares now is like a company. It's like a corporation. Now, sorry, there was a disconnection, but I believe it's back now. Can you hear me now? Anybody?
Yes. Now it works.
Thank you so much. So I was saying that BitShares is an identical to any of these companies that we are dealing with on daily basis. We buy from, we invest in, and so on. Now it's a total replica of a floating corporation, where a corporation is actually uniting people for the sake of the coordination in order to drive the development of that corporation. So BitShares works the same exact way. BitShares has owners, which means that it's an entity, and this entity lives on the internet, and there are participants of this entity who are actually deciding the value of this entity. So always anything that has a value is actually decided or defined by the users of this thing. So BitShares has shares, and some people believe that this blockchain has a value. It serves them. It serves their needs, regardless of what their needs are, and then they start actually creating the value of it through participation, through providing an alternative in front of its utility. And that's how actually the shareholders are actually participating in this. So in any company in the world, there are shareholders who owns the shares of the company, and then there are actually workers who works in these companies in order to take salary or in order to develop their career and so on. And you have also services users of these corporations, where these users are actually buying and selling from these corporations through the workers, or perhaps dealing with the shareholders directly, in case they want to participate in the investment of the assets of that company. So it's the same exact case here BitShares. Now, the questions raised about integrity of BitShares compared to real life companies. Now we know that let's talk specifically about the financial corporations or something alternative to what BitShares provide, which is a financial instrument engine and settlement system. Also has a lot of financial features to manage these instruments, and definitely financial functions. So let's talk about banks, for example. Banks are just an ordinary company. This company has shares. Perhaps in the beginning, these shares were actually sold to multiple participants, or in the initial stage, multiple participants decided to put their money together to go and corporate a bank, and then they started selling their shares to another investors, and then at the end there will be like let's say chairman and a board to manage the bank and to manage how this bank is operating, and to also make sure the business side of this investment is doing well and to make revenues. So BitShares is the same exact case. It has shareholders, and these shareholders are the holders of the utility token, and the blockchain is actually allowing or enabling the investors to have access on certain and specific functions that is related to the development of this floating company, and at the same time arrange the integrity between the participants. Second. Yeah, do you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, so carry on. So the blockchain is operating the same exact way of a financial institution, where it is giving the ability to the investors to have certain and specific functionalities that can be done over the blockchain in order to keep the development carried on, but at the same time takes care of the integrity between these investors or shareholders. So BitShares took a good time actually in order to develop this part of the equation, where investors were trying actually to in the beginning of BitShares, they were trying to manipulate through the functions that they can actually execute in order to make like self-interests revenues that is unfair between the shareholders. Now, unfair is mean. It does mean that someone is taking something that they don't really have a right to take. And these scenarios are happening in real life. Like, for example, some banks would be able to make like $100 million as a revenue, and then you will find them not exposing this to the entire shareholders, but the board will decide that no, we will just show 50 million of them as a revenue, and then just go buy stuff with the other 50 million in invoices that would be related to development, and then they will be passing it to their own companies. So something like this is totally unethical, and blockchain is trying to solve all these unethical issues actually. So on BitShares, the same scenario were happening when the early stage of worker system was actually paying some entities who doesn't really deserve the payments that they took, and these had no any investment returns over BitShares, and there is no any benefits to BitShares, and then BitShares had actually lost some of the value who actually were paid by the investors to some specific entities who actually gained it through the loopholes of the voting system. And in later stage, I call it the purge of BitShares. There was actually a fix that was implemented on BitShares in order to close these loopholes and to let the investor be more responsible on his investment. And at the same time, it doesn't really give the power for some investors to actually have gains on the interest of other investors within the platform. So somehow, with the new design, which actually let the ones who wants to participate in the investment development or the voting system to lock their BTS or the utility assets on the blockchain in order to gain the power of decision making when it comes to specific functions that I consider it's the core of how the development is being driven on BitShares. So in the past period, perhaps within the past 3 years, we had overcome these issues, and we are moving forward to create very stable channels for BitShares. Now, the earlier stage had a lot of hassles. Actually, the main domain of BitShares was unstable, was going down continuously, and the ones who are actually managing it are not able to stabilize how it works, or to have a specific let's say identity about this blockchain. Even the websites who were actually trying to present what is BitShares were having some outdated text, some outdated domains and links as well. So in this past period, we were actually fixing all these issues. I really appreciate the great efforts of the entire team of BitShares group, including Bench, a bit more, Stephen. Really, these people were so much working closely on with us in order to actually regain access on a lot of channels, and to make sure that all these links were refreshed. And we have a working Explorer, for example, working exchange pages and domains, and to have a unified like face in front of these channels, and to have a specific description for BitShares. Actually, everyone can go and have a look on what we had actually drafted about BitShares, specifically when Binance had actually raised a lot of questions related to our identity and what we are trying to do here. So now we have a community page over CoinMarketCap, and today I would like to celebrate this. Actually, we had reached 10K users, and this was in no time. Actually, I remember the page is actually under my supervision since 1 year now, and I could see also on daily basis hundreds of users are following our page there. Also, we had improved our channels from social media, where we have a stable Twitter account now, and we have a news channel. We have also a beautiful domain, and we are ranked now in top 10s on Google. So if anyone goes to Google now and writes BitShares, there will be a website there, and the website will really speak about this innovation from a perspective of decentralization, and definitely due to respect of shareholders, because BitShares is actually a spread between several shareholders, and it's not private to specific individual. Earlier, also the ones who were actually trying to demonstrate BitShares, I don't want to mention names, but they were trying to drive this innovation into a private owned blockchain. You know, it's like BitShares is mine. BitShares is a company, and they were trying actually to present BitShares as company to some entities in some countries. And I also saw this unethical, because that's not what BitShares is. So the more we are transparent about our work, the more definitely the value is gonna improve. Now, according to how I see it, I see the value of BitShares is the ones who are participating on the platform. That's the value of BitShares. BitShares is meaningless without the users. BitShares is meaningless without the ones who are actually participating in this ecosystem, and defines the value of this innovation. I will stop here when it comes to the history. Perhaps someone else has anything to say about BitShares history, and then I will start talking about the functional part of BitShares and how I see it. So I'm not sure if anyone wants to take the mic now. Anyone wants to take the mic? Bench.
Yes, so when no one wants to talk, I can move on. So I want to ask you, how should we get to the target? How can we reach our goals, and what our goals are? So, and what we need to improve to get us back to the top 100 crypto coins?
Thank you so much for the question. Now, I'm not really focusing that much on getting in top 100 over a specific platform, or let's say over a specific website. Now I know that a lot of websites are there to rank the cryptocurrencies, but they rank them from a perspective of the value in front of dollar, and perhaps my kind doesn't really value things in front of dollar. We value things in front of other perspectives, but the more.
Yes, so this was just an example how we can define our targets. So you're right. So we have a lot of other sites we need to cover, and not only the value in front of the dollar.
Yes, exactly. So let me tell you now what I think about BitShares and how I see our current situation, and perhaps I'll be talking about how I see the future of this blockchain. Our current situation is that we are a platform that has an exchange engine and a financial services engine, and so advanced functions within this financial services engine. So when I look at this innovation, I don't look at it as an exchange only or a wallet. BitShares is, like you can say, the utility part of BitShares perhaps is functioning similar to how Bitcoin is functioning. So it's a wallet, and it has a core asset, which is BTS, and this core asset is actually a demand to the ones who wants to give it a value and who cares about it. It's the same exact case with Bitcoins, where Bitcoin is having a value because the ones who decided that it has value are actually using it and they value it. So it's the same exact case with BTS. I value my BTS, and I wouldn't actually give them to anyone except when I get the value that I decide for. And then the value is created. So BTS value in front of any alternative is defined by the ones who are around it. So the more we have, let's say, people who has worth, the more the BTS will be higher in value in front of alternatives. So I believe the community and the ones who are participating directly and interacting with the blockchain and their perhaps personal savings, the money that they have, and so on, are defining the value of BTS. Now, when it comes to the other part of the value, which is the utility side of the equation, I believe BTS is one of the greatest blockchains in the world. When it comes to the innovation, I don't see any competitor around. I know that we share a lot of functions that are there in XRB or, for example, XLM. And actually, I'm the one who's running the instant XRB and XLM gateway, IOX Bank. and this is one of the things that I'm making sure that it will continue here over BitShares, because XRP and XLM are so competitive when it comes to the adoption in the financial system, and I will be talking about the reason, and I will be talking about the reason why BTS is aware of this. BTS is not gonna participate in let's say communities who are trying to impose another corruption in economy. I will be mentioning also some incidents that happened to me personally, like people asking me about why I'm not participating within their work and the future of the banking and so on. So I don't really see a reason behind participating in the financial system with the same exact way that XRB does or XLM, because we want the economy of BitShares, and I'm saying we, I'm referring to the ones who are actually driving the vision of BitShares. We are trying to disconnect ourselves of this corrupt financial system. And that's perhaps the main reason behind a lot of participations around, including the participations that was around Bitcoin in its earlier stage. So the reason behind creating an alternative economy in the first place was to avoid running through corruption. Otherwise, we will just go and participate in the same exact financial system which we are trying to escape from with the technologies that they offer, which I believe it's intentionally legacy. So they're keeping it legacy in order to keep the reasoning behind how it is corrupt. And it's the same exact case with the financial institutions who are participating in these systems and trying to avoid participating in the new era, which is the decentralized engines and so on. So we have two parts of the equations here. You need an isolated financial system as an alternative to the financial system that is currently running the world. And you need also a connection between these two systems. So I see the connection between these two systems are some coins. Perhaps these coins are XRB or XLM or something else. Maybe they will go and create another private chains where they have more control over. And this alternative economy has to continue. And there is nothing wrong with having an isolated economy. Actually, we will never be able to reach to a world that has a single economy, because means of values are varying between societies, and every group has this demand where I want to create my own value and I want to maintain my own value. So that's why there are multiple economies actually, and the ones who participate in these economies are actually changing by time. So the future of BitShares perhaps will continue the same exact way. It's an isolated economy owned by entities who defines the means of using it, and develop the innovation in order to accept more participants. And I want to say that these participants should be enough intelligence, because intelligence is actually tied with let's say continuity. So in order to continue this innovation and let it be developed in a very useful way to more intelligent people, definitely it will gain value and it will succeed as an alternative economy. I see now these days a lot of central banks in the world are actually started already developing their own coins. They call it CBDCs. And these CBDCs are similar to private blockchains. It's totally controlled by definitely the central banks. And they want to design it in a way that would actually give more control to governors in order to actually do more, let's say, manipulations for the value and so on. Now, the alternative that we are trying to create here in BitShares is to protect the individual, is to protect the consumer, and at the same time, second, Bench, please take the mic. I'll come back in a few minutes.
Okay, so now we have some time to ask some questions or to get some feedback from you. So, Amma.
Yeah, sorry, I'm back.
Can you get back to your topic, or
yes,
or I wanna go towards how we should focus on the future development and the future direction.
Yes.
So
yes.
You were talking about CBDCs and
CBDC.
how they are implementing it.
Yes. Yes.
So, how is this connected to BitShares?
All right. So let me tell you. Can you mute your mic, please? Yeah. So when it comes to the CBDCs and their connection to BitShares, now as I said, BitShares is trying to be an alternative economy to the current financial system, where it protects the financial freedom of the individual and allowing actually or enabling specific group to take care of their value regardless of how the financial system out there is being managed, regardless if it's corrupt or not. So it's the group of these people who participate in this ecosystem, and every one of them has his own worth, and accordingly this blockchain is gonna have its value in front of the other alternatives. Now the CBDCs is going to change how the equation is happening when it comes to how consumer is participating in the real life financial system, where, for example, the government will have more restrictions on what we buy, what we sell, and how we sell it or how we buy it. They will have more controls when it comes to like expiry on these financial instruments. They will have regulations that would be executed directly before reaching to the financial system itself, because the entire monetary is managed internally by the central banks, and so on. And these are not conspiracies. These are officially declared in for example, World Economic Forum plans and agendas. It's also there in the United Nations agenda. So we know what are CBDCs. We know how it is going to impact the financial freedom and so on. So the future of BitShares is perhaps positioning itself in this notion where participants of this ecosystem who are actually worthful or having a worth to take care of their value in front of alternatives that are actually being somehow restricted and manipulated by specific entities who call themselves governments, or elected by people or unelected by people, who can get corrupt and manipulate how the economy is actually being driven with these CBDCs. Now the innovation of Bitcoin itself is actually was a reaction to these behaviors of governments. Now, governments are there to protect the consumer, and that's the main reason why a middle layer was always a demand, because the consumer does not really understand what's going on inside the bank. Consumer is utilizing banking services, financial services. He's using instruments, but he doesn't really know what is happening behind the scene. And what is happening behind the scene is not written anywhere, actually. It's not transparent in front of the consumer. So consumer cannot really go to these regulators and say that, well, the bank that I'm putting my money in is doing this with my money, okay, or doing that. And you find incidents where someone is actually establishing a bank or an exchange, taking the money of the people and then sending them to someone in some other country as a gift, and then filing a bankruptcy in a legal way and escaping with it. So rules and regulations are not really protecting the consumer 100%. And the people who are trying to criticize blockchains for saying that it is not well secured and the consumer might have a lot of troubles, well, it's the same exact case. Users of the blockchain are trusting the board members. They trust the chairman of this blockchain. So that's why they invest there. And it's the same exact case when a company is formed and people are going and investing their money there, and then the board are stealing the money and filing a bankruptcy in a legal way. So blockchain has, I'm not talking specifically about BitShares, but any blockchain has the potential that it may have a board or participants who actually are stealing the value from their users or their investors. This is something that we actually work a lot on developing it over BitShares, where we want to create a fair system between the investors, and at the same time make sure that none of these investors are wasting the value of this innovation. Any other questions?
So how can we move forward with the user interface?
All right, so when it comes to the user interface, I know that we have a lot of challenges when it comes to the user interface, because the current user interface that we actually are developing or working on is too complex for the end users. And I remember I spoke about this with many people from BitShares group regarding how the development of the interfaces are going to happen, and what is the best way to develop the interfaces. We concluded that actually users of BitShares are advanced users who are interacting directly with the blockchain. So I don't believe that BitShares is or BitShares development team supposed to satisfy the so much end users demands, but they should develop the UI in a way that it will serve the advanced users more. Now there are actually an architecture challenge when it comes to the UI and how it was built. Also, we have challenges when it comes to these wallets and their support over phones, for example. Now, as I said, direct users of BitShares are not going to be retail. So we expect that users who are directly interacting with BitShares, when it comes to let's say the reference wallet, and who are directly interacting with the API layer of BitShare and so on, are developers and perhaps investors or developer investors who are actually having their own platforms, who are enabling these financial functions over their own platforms to their own clients. So we are trying to drive the documentation, the websites, the informations in our channels in a way that it would actually be understood by the investors and by these developers who are building on top of BitShares. So thinking about the perspective of the client side of the equation from a retail mindset is, I don't think, really helpful. But now in the very near future, me myself, I have plans. I know that also Europa has done a very great job when it comes to the app that she had designed, which is enabling our liquidity pools to the retail clients. Now, I also believe like every entity around BitShares has to have its own perhaps UI and its own innovations and its own interactions with BitShares, which is representing more features about this great innovation. Now, I could also observe in the past period a lot of people who are building NFT interfaces, for example, perhaps some swap apps. Definitely liquidity pools are so much important, and the way that they work is very unique when it comes to this decentralized liquidity pools functions. So that's what I have when it comes to the future of the UI and how it should be carried. Europa, I really want you to participate with us. Perhaps you can address your latest features.
Hey guys, hi all, hi Mar, hi Thomas, hi John, hello. Glad to see you at BitShares Friday party. I hope you're fine. And as you know, we have connected a native EOS coin, EOS bridge. It was a hard work. And our next step, we plan to connect Tron, and I hope it was very fast. And I want to present you core dev of Emercoin, Oleg, I don't know how. And if you can, please unban him, because he want to say you some news and some offer for BitShares community.
Thank you so much. Can you please give me his nickname in a private?
1 second.